The grand hall of Zathura was brighter than 1,000 stars. Tall golden pillars reached high into the ceiling. Soft blue lights floated in the air like glowing spirits. The floor was made of shining crystal, reflecting every movement like a mirror. This was not just a palace hall. This was where history was made. Today was the choosing ceremony. Princess Lyra stood at the center of the hall. She wore silver armor mixed with royal silk. A soft crown rested on her head. Her long white hair moved gently as a calm wind passed through the hall. Her face was quiet, but her eyes were sharp. She was not just a princess. She was the future ruler of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. And today, she had to choose her mate. Across the hall stood the strongest beings from different worlds. There were giant warriors covered in dark armor. Their bodies looked like they were made for war. Some had glowing red eyes. Some had skin like metal. Others carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Each one had come for the same reason. To be chosen. To stand beside Princess Lyra. To gain power. To rule. A loud voice echoed through the hall. Let the choosing begin. One by one, the warriors stepped forward. The first was a warlord from a burning planet. He spoke of his victories. Of planets he had conquered. Of enemies he had destroyed. Lyra listened, but said nothing. The second was a prince from a rich empire. He promised wealth, peace, and control of trade routes. Lyra remained silent. The third was a silent killer, known across the galaxy. He did not speak much. But everyone knew his name. Fear followed him. Still. Lyra did not move. Whispers began to spread in the crowd. Why is she waiting? Does she not like any of them? This is strange. Then suddenly. The large doors at the back of the hall opened. Everyone turned. A single figure walked in. No armor. No glowing weapons. No guards. Just, a human. The room fell silent. Some aliens looked confused. Others looked insulted. Is this a joke? A human? They are weak. They are not even part of high command species. The human walked slowly, calmly. His name was Ethan. He wore simple dark clothes. His face showed no fear. His eyes moved quietly, watching everything. He did not bow. He did not speak. He just stood there. Like he belonged. The guards looked at each other, unsure. This was not planned. This was not normal. A royal advisor stepped forward, angry. Human, you are not allowed here. This ceremony is for worthy beings only. Ethan said nothing. He just looked at the advisor. For a moment, the advisor stopped speaking. Something about that look felt wrong. Princess Lyra raised her hand. The hall went silent again. Let him stay. Her voice was calm, but strong. The advisor stepped back. But princess, he is. I said, let him stay. Now, all eyes were on Ethan. But something else changed. Far away, in the dark space between stars. A hidden ship received a signal. A cold voice spoke. Target located. Back in the hall, Lyra stepped down from her throne. She walked slowly toward the line of warriors. Each one stood tall, trying to impress her. But she walked past them. One by one. The warlord. The prince. The killer. All ignored. The whispers grew louder. Who is she looking for? Is she rejecting everyone? Then, she stopped. In front of Ethan. The entire hall froze. For a moment, no one breathed. Lyra looked at him closely. Ethan looked back. No fear. No pride. Just calm. Like he already knew what would happen. Lyra spoke softly. What is your name? Ethan. His voice was simple. No respect. No fear. Just truth. The crowd became restless. This is madness. She cannot be serious. A human. Lyra turned to face the hall. Her voice was clear. I have made my choice. Silence. Heavy. Deep. Then she spoke the words that would shake the galaxy. I choose him. The hall exploded with noise. No. This is impossible. A human is not worthy. This is an insult. The warlord stepped forward, angry. You choose a weak creature over warriors. The prince shouted. This will destroy your empire. Even the royal guards looked shocked. But Lyra did not move. She stood beside Ethan. Calm. Certain. I see what you do not. The crowd laughed. What can you see in him? He is nothing. But Lyra's eyes did not change. She looked at Ethan again. And for a second, something strange happened. The lights in the hall flickered. Very slightly. Almost no one noticed. But a few did. The silent killer narrowed his eyes. He felt it. Something hidden. Something dangerous. Back in the shadows of space, the cold voice spoke again. Confirmation complete. Weapon has been chosen. Inside the hall, Ethan stood quietly. But deep inside him, something was waking up. Something not human. Something built. Designed. Waiting. And now. Activated. Princess Lyra smiled slightly. She thought she had chosen a mate. But in truth, she had just chosen the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. And she had no idea. The palace of Zathra was never quiet. Even at night, soft lights moved through the long halls. Guards walked in perfect lines. Machines hummed gently in the walls. Everything was controlled. Everything was perfect. But after the choosing ceremony, something felt different. People whispered more. Guards watched more carefully. And at the center of it all, was the human. Ethan. He now lived inside the royal palace. A place no human had ever entered before. From the outside, everything looked normal. He was given a private chamber. Clean. Large. Filled with advanced alien technology. But Ethan did not touch most of it. He did not explore. He did not ask questions. He simply observed. The first strange thing was his routine. Or rather, the lack of one. He did not eat much. Servants brought him food from different worlds. Exotic dishes, rich meals, rare drinks. He barely touched them. Sometimes, he would just sit still for hours. Not sleeping. Not moving. Just, watching. Servants felt uncomfortable around him. One of them whispered to another. Does he even breathe properly? Another replied. I stood there for 10 minutes, he did not blink. Rumors started to spread. Princess Lyra noticed too. At first, she thought he was simply different. Humans were not well known in the galaxy. Maybe this was normal. But the more she watched, the more questions grew. One day, she invited him to walk in the garden. The royal garden was peaceful. Soft glowing plants moved slowly. Water flowed in the air like floating streams. It was a place meant to calm the mind. Lyra walked beside him. You are very quiet, she said. Ethan looked at the garden. Yes. Lyra smiled slightly. You do not ask questions. Most would be amazed by this place. Ethan paused. Then he said. I already understand it. Lyra stopped walking. You understand, all of this? Ethan nodded once. No explanation. No pride. Just a simple answer. Lyra felt something strange again. Not fear, but uncertainty. Later that day, she gave a small order to the palace guards. Test him. She did not say why. But the guards understood. That night, Ethan walked alone through a quiet hallway. The lights were dim. The palace seemed asleep. Suddenly, a guard stepped out from the shadows. Then another. And another. 3 elite royal guards surrounded him. Their armor glowed faintly. Their weapons were ready. One of them spoke. This is just a test. Do not resist. Ethan looked at them. No reaction. The first guard moved fast. Too fast for most beings to follow. But before he could reach Ethan, Ethan stepped aside. Simple. Smooth. Effortless. The guard missed. The second guard attacked from behind. Ethan turned slightly. Caught the weapon mid-air. Stopped it like it weighed nothing. The third guard tried to strike his legs. Ethan jumped back. Perfect timing. Perfect distance. No wasted movement. No panic. Within seconds, all 3 guards were on the ground. Not injured badly. But defeated. Silence filled the hallway. Ethan stood still. Like nothing had happened. The guards looked at each other. Confused. One whispered. That was not normal. From above, hidden cameras recorded everything. Princess Lyra watched the footage. Again and again. She slowed it down. Frame by frame. Her eyes narrowed. He moves before the attack begins. One of her advisors spoke carefully. This could be instinct. Lyra shook her head. No. This is not instinct. She paused the video at a single moment. Ethan's eyes. Calm. Cold. Focused. He already knew, she said quietly. Days passed. And more strange things appeared. One morning, a servant accidentally dropped a sharp metal tool. It fell toward Ethan's arm. Before it could touch him, he caught it. Without even looking. The servant froze. I am sorry. Ethan placed the tool back calmly. It is fine. But the servant ran away. Fear growing in her chest. Another time, a training drone malfunctioned in the courtyard. It fired energy shots wildly. Guards rushed to stop it. But before they could, Ethan stepped forward. The drone fired. Fast. Deadly. Ethan moved. Left. Right. Step. Turn. Every shot missed him. Not by chance. But by control. Then, with one precise move, he disabled the drone. Silence followed. The guards stared at him. One of them said softly, "How did he do that?" No one had an answer. Lyra watched everything. Her thoughts became heavier. This was no longer curiosity. This was something else. Something deeper. That night, she called for a private report. Her intelligence officer entered the room. There are rumors, he said. About what? About humans. Lyra frowned. Humans are not known for strength. The officer nodded slowly. Yes, normal humans are not. He placed a data screen in front of her. Years ago, there were hidden reports. Secret experiments. A forbidden program. Lyra's eyes focused. What kind of program? The officer hesitated. Then said quietly. A program to create living weapons. Silence filled the room. Lyra looked at the screen. Most of the data was missing. Deleted. Erased. But one line remained. Subject status, unknown. Lyra's heart beat faster. She whispered. Ethan. Far away, in deep space, the hidden ship received new data. Subject behavior confirmed. Adaptive combat skills active. Emotional suppression intact. Pause. Then the cold voice spoke again. Continue observation. Back in the palace, Ethan stood alone on a balcony. He looked out at the stars. Silent. Still. But inside him, something was changing. A small crack. A small feeling. Something not programmed. Not controlled. Not expected. He placed his hand on the cold metal railing. For a brief moment, his fingers tightened. As if he was holding something back. Or remembering something lost. Behind him, Lyra watched quietly. She did not speak. But one question stayed in her mind. A question that would soon change everything. Who, or what, had she really chosen? At first, many laughed. Some thought it was a joke. Others believed it was a mistake. But then, more information followed. The human is not normal. In a dark war room, far from Zathura, a group of alien leaders gathered. The room was cold. The walls were black metal. A large hologram floated in the center, showing the image of Ethan. Still. Calm. Watching. One of the leaders spoke first. This is the one. Another nodded. Yes. The reports match. A third voice, deeper and more serious, said. If the data is true, this is not just a human. Silence followed. Then the first leader asked. What do we do? The answer came quickly. We remove him. Back on Zathura, the palace looked peaceful. But inside, tension was growing. Guards had doubled. Security systems were upgraded. No one said it out loud, but everyone felt it. Something was coming. Princess Lyra stood in her private chamber, looking at the stars. Her mind was not calm. The reports she received were troubling. Strange signals near the system. Unidentified ships moving in the dark. And always, the same question. Ethan. She turned as the door opened. Ethan stepped inside. He walked quietly, as always. Lyra looked at him. You feel it too, don't you? Ethan stopped. Yes. What do you feel? He looked toward the window. Movement. Watching. Waiting. Lyra's chest tightened. You speak like you know them. Ethan was silent for a moment. Then he said. I know what comes before an attack. Lyra stepped closer. And what comes before it? Ethan looked at her. Silence. That night, the silence broke. The palace lights flickered once. Then again. Then. Darkness. For 1 second, everything went black. Then emergency lights turned on. Red. Cold. Alarms began to sound. Guards rushed through the halls. Voices shouted. Security breach. Unknown entry points. Lock all sectors. But it was already too late. They had entered. In the shadows of the palace, silent figures moved. Black armor. No sound. No hesitation. These were not normal soldiers. They were hunters. Trained for one purpose. Kill the target. Ethan stood in the hallway outside his chamber. Still. Waiting. His eyes moved slightly. Listening. Tracking. Then. A faint sound. Footsteps. Fast. Precise. 3 figures appeared at the end of the hall. Weapons ready. No warning. They attacked. The first shot came fast. A silent energy blast aimed at his head. Ethan moved. Just a small step. The blast missed. The second attacker rushed forward with a blade. Ethan turned. Caught the arm. Twisted. A clean movement. The attacker hit the ground. The third came from above. Dropping from the ceiling. Weapon raised. Ethan looked up. And moved before the strike. He stepped aside. Grabbed the attacker mid-air. And slammed him down. Hard. The fight lasted seconds. Then, silence again. The 3 attackers lay on the ground. Alive. But unable to move. Ethan stood in the center. Not breathing hard. Not shaking. Just, still. More guards arrived. Weapons raised. They saw the attackers. Then they saw Ethan. One guard whispered. He did this, alone. Another said. This is not possible. Princess Lyra arrived moments later. Her heart was racing. She saw the scene. The broken floor. The defeated attackers. And Ethan, standing untouched. Her voice was low. What happened? Ethan looked at her. They came to kill. Lyra stepped closer to the attackers. Their armor was unknown. No markings. No identity. Professional. Dangerous. She turned back to Ethan. How did you stop them so easily? Ethan did not answer immediately. Then he said. They were not fast enough. Lyra felt a chill. Not from fear. But from truth. Suddenly, one of the attackers began to move. Slowly. Weakly. He tried to reach something on his arm. Ethan saw it instantly. His voice changed. Stop him. But it was too late. The attacker pressed the device. A small flash. Then. Nothing. His body went still. Gone. The others followed. Self-destruct systems. No evidence left. The guard stepped back. Shocked. Lyra looked at Ethan again. This time, her eyes were different. You knew that would happen. Ethan nodded. Yes. How? He paused. Then said quietly. Because I have seen it before. Far away, inside the hidden war room, the alien leaders watched the report. The mission had failed. The attackers were gone. The target, still alive. The room was silent. Then one leader spoke slowly. He is real. Another added. More dangerous than expected. The third leaned forward. Then we stop observing. Pause. Then the final order came. Prepare full elimination. Back on Zathra, the palace was no longer calm. The attack changed everything. This was not a rumor anymore. This was war. Lyra stood alone later that night. Her thoughts heavy. Her heart uncertain. She had made a choice. But now, that choice was pulling danger toward her world. Toward her people. Behind her, Ethan stood quietly. Watching the stars again. Silent. Still. But not empty. Something was building. Something waiting. They will come again. Ethan answered. Yes. Stronger. Yes. She closed her eyes. Can we stop them? Ethan looked at his hands. Then at the stars. Then he said something that made the silence even heavier. I can. And in that moment, Princess Lyra understood something terrifying. The danger was not just coming for them. The danger was already standing with her. And the galaxy was about to learn. What happens when a weapon is no longer hidden? The palace of Zathura did not sleep anymore. After the attack, everything changed. Guards stood at every corner. Warships moved into orbit. Defense systems stayed active all the time. No one trusted the silence now. Because they knew, it would not last. Princess Lyra stood inside the war chamber. A large hologram of the galaxy floated in front of her. Red marks showed enemy movement. Unknown fleets were gathering near their borders. Her advisors stood around her. One of them spoke. They are not hiding anymore. Another added. Multiple factions are moving at once. Lyra's eyes narrowed. They are afraid. The room went quiet. One advisor said slowly. Afraid of him. At the same time, Ethan stood alone in a training hall. The room was large and empty. Cold metal walls. Hard floor. No distractions. Just space. He stood in the center. Still. Then suddenly. The training system activated. Drones appeared from the walls. Fast. Armed. Deadly. Without warning, they attacked. Energy blasts filled the air. Sharp. Quick. Dangerous. Ethan moved. Left. Right. Step. Turn. Every movement was perfect. No wasted energy. No hesitation. One drone rushed from behind. He spun. Struck it out of the air. Another fired from above. He jumped. Twisted. Landed smoothly. Disabled it. More drones came. Faster. Stronger. But Ethan did not slow down. His body moved like a machine. Precise. Controlled. Cold. Then, something changed. A sudden flash of memory. A sound. A voice. Subject 07, begin combat test. Ethan froze for a fraction of a second. One drone fired. The blast hit his shoulder. He stepped back. But he did not fall. The skin repaired slowly. Like nothing happened. Ethan stood still. The drone stopped. The room went silent. His breathing remained calm. But his mind was not. Flash. A cold room. Metal walls. Bright white lights. Voices speaking around him. He is adapting faster than expected. Remove emotional response. Focus on combat efficiency. Another flash. Pain. Training. Endless training. Fighting again and again. No rest. No choice. No life. Ethan opened his eyes. Back in the present. Back in the palace. But now, he remembered more. The door behind him opened. Princess Lyra walked in. She had seen the training report. Every detail. Every movement. Every impossible action. She stepped closer. You are not just human. It was not a question. Ethan looked at her. Silent. Then she said. Tell me the truth. For a moment, nothing moved. The air felt heavy. Then Ethan spoke. Slowly. Carefully. I was created. Lyra's heart skipped. Created. Ethan nodded. Not born like others. She stepped closer. By who? Ethan looked down for a second. As if searching for something lost. Humans. Lyra frowned. Humans made you, like this? Ethan continued. A secret program. Purpose. Ethan's voice became colder. To end wars. Lyra's eyes widened. End wars, or start them? Ethan looked at her. Both. Silence filled the room. Lyra tried to understand. So you are, a soldier? Ethan shook his head. No. Then what are you? He paused. Then said the words clearly. A weapon. Lyra stepped back slightly. Not in fear. But in realization. Everything made sense now. The way he moved. The way he reacted. The way he felt, nothing. But why are they after you? She asked. Ethan answered. Because I was not meant to leave. Another flash. A facility. Dark. Destroyed. Alarms. Fire. Ethan walking through broken walls. Guards trying to stop him. All failing. Then, escape. Lyra watched his face. You escaped them. Ethan nodded. Yes. And now, they want you back. Yes. Lyra turned away. Her mind racing. This was bigger than she thought. This was not about politics. Not about pride. This was about power. The kind that could destroy entire worlds. She turned back to him. Why did you come here? Ethan looked at her. For the first time. There was something different in his eyes. Not cold. Not empty. Something, human. I did not choose this place. Then why stay? He paused. As if the answer was not simple. Then he said. You chose me. Lyra felt her chest tighten. At that moment, an alarm sounded again. Louder than before. More urgent. A guard's voice came through the system. Princess. Multiple enemy fleets detected. They are entering attack range. Lyra looked at the hologram screen. Ships. Hundreds of them. From different factions. All coming together. For one reason. Ethan stepped beside her. He looked at the incoming fleets. No fear. No doubt. Lyra spoke slowly. They are coming for you. Ethan answered. I know. She looked at him. You said you were made to end wars. Yes. She took a breath. Then tell me, can you stop this one? Ethan looked at the stars. Then at the fleets. Then back at her. His answer was simple. Yes. Lyra's voice dropped. But at what cost? Ethan did not answer. Because deep inside, He already knew. The cost of a weapon was destruction. And for the first time, Ethan was not sure if he wanted to be used that way again. The fleets moved closer. The war had begun. And now, the truth was no longer hidden. The galaxy would finally see what a living weapon really was. The sky above Zathra was no longer calm. Bright stars were hidden behind dark shapes. Enemy ships. Hundreds of them. They filled the space like a black storm. Huge war cruisers. Fast attack fighters. Heavy destroyers. All moving slowly into position. All waiting. Inside the palace, alarms echoed through every hall. Red lights flashed again and again. Guards ran to their stations. Pilots rushed to their ships. Commanders shouted orders. The time for fear was over. Now, it was war. Princess Lyra stood in the command center. Her face was calm, but her eyes were focused. A large screen showed the enemy fleets closing in. One of her generals spoke. They are forming a full attack line. Another added. They are not here to talk. Lyra nodded. I know. A message signal appeared. Enemy transmission. The room went silent. Lyra stepped forward. Put it through. The screen changed. A dark figure appeared. An alien war leader. His voice was cold. Princess Lyra of Zathra. Lyra stood straight. You have come far without invitation. The war leader did not react. We are not here for your world. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Then why are you here? The answer came without delay. The human. Silence. Heavy. Give him to us, the war leader said. And your world will remain untouched. A pause. Then he added. Refuse, and we will erase everything. The room felt colder. All eyes turned to Lyra. This was the moment. The choice. Lyra did not look away. Her voice was steady. No. The war leader stared at her. You choose a weapon, over your people. Lyra answered. I choose what is right. The war leader's eyes darkened. Then you choose destruction. The screen went black. 1 second later. The first attack began. Enemy ships fired. Bright energy blasts cut through space. Zathra's defense systems activated instantly. Shields rose. Guns fired back. The sky exploded with light. Inside the palace, everything shook. The war had started. Ethan stood in a quiet hallway. He felt every movement. Every explosion. Every shift in the air. He knew exactly what was happening. Lyra entered the hallway quickly. She looked at him. It has begun. Ethan nodded. Yes. She stepped closer. There is still time. Ethan watched her. You can leave. The words were simple. But heavy. Lyra continued. If you go now, they may stop. Ethan was silent. You do not belong to this war, she said. Ethan looked at her carefully. Neither do you. Lyra shook her head. This is my world. My people. Then she said something softer. But you were forced into this. Ethan's eyes changed slightly. A small reaction. Almost invisible. I was made for this, he said. Lyra stepped closer. But you are not just that. For the first time. Ethan did not answer immediately. Outside, the battle grew worse. Enemy ships broke through parts of the defense line. Explosions lit the sky. Fires spread in orbit. A guard rushed in. Princess. Outer defense is failing. Another voice came through the system. Enemy units preparing ground assault. Lyra closed her eyes for a second. Then opened them again. Stronger. She looked at Ethan. If you stay, this will only grow worse. Ethan asked. For who? Lyra did not answer. Because she knew the truth. For everyone. Ethan turned toward the exit. Toward the battlefield. I will go, he said. Lyra's heart tightened. Go, where? Ethan looked ahead. To end it. Lyra stepped forward quickly. You cannot fight all of them alone. Ethan stopped. Then said calmly. I do not need to fight all of them. Lyra frowned. Then what will you do? Ethan turned slightly. His voice was quiet. But clear. I will make them stop. Lyra understood what that meant. Fear touched her voice. And how will you do that? Ethan looked at her one last time. By becoming what they fear. Silence. Lyra stepped closer. Her voice softer now. But that is not who you are. Ethan paused. For a moment, something inside him moved again. That same small feeling. That same unknown emotion. Then he said. It is what I was made to be. Lyra shook her head. No. She looked directly into his eyes. You are more than that. Ethan stood still. Outside, a massive explosion shook the ground. The war was reaching the surface. Time was gone. Ethan took a step forward. Then another. Lyra's voice stopped him. Ethan. He turned. She said slowly. You are not a weapon to me. The word stayed in the air. For the first time. Ethan did not look like a machine. He looked uncertain. Just for a second. Then the moment passed. He nodded once. And walked away. Toward the battlefield. Lyra stood there. Watching him leave. Not as a ruler. Not as a commander. But as someone who had made a choice. Outside, the sky burned. Ships fell. Fires spread. The war was growing. And now. The most dangerous part of it. Had just entered the fight. Ethan stepped onto the battlefield. Alone. No armor. No weapon. But he did not need one. Because he was the weapon. And the galaxy was about to learn. What happens when a weapon begins to choose for itself? The battlefield of Zathra was chaos. The sky burned with fire. Ships exploded in the dark. Energy blasts crossed the air like storms of light. The ground shook under heavy attacks. Smoke rose everywhere. Screams. Orders. Fear. War had reached its peak. Ethan stepped forward. Alone. No armor. No weapon. But he did not stop. Enemy soldiers landed on the surface. Heavy machines walked across the land. Weapons fired in every direction. Zathra's forces fought back, but they were losing ground. Then. Ethan moved. The first group of enemy soldiers saw him. They aimed their weapons. Target located. They fired. Fast. Deadly. Ethan stepped forward. One step. Then another. The blasts came closer. He moved. Left. Right. Forward. Every shot missed him. Not by luck, but by control. He reached them. And in seconds, it was over. No wasted movement. No hesitation. He disarmed them. Disabled them. Every strike precise. Every action perfect. More enemies arrived. Dozens this time. Then hundreds. Ethan did not slow down. He moved through them like a storm. Fast. Silent. Unstoppable. Above the battlefield, enemy ships targeted him. He is the one. Fire everything. Large cannons charged. Energy gathered. Then. They fired. A massive blast came down from the sky. Bright. Powerful. Enough to destroy a city. Ethan looked up. For a moment, everything slowed. Flash. A memory. A voice. Subject 07, maximum output mode. His body reacted. Not by thought. By design. The blast reached him. And then. Light filled everything. For a second. No one could see. Then the light faded. Ethan was still standing. The ground around him was destroyed. Broken. Burning. But he stood in the center. Untouched. The battlefield went silent. Even the enemy paused. He survived. That is not possible. Ethan looked around. At the soldiers. At the machines. At the sky filled with ships. He could end this. He knew how. One command. One action. And everything would be gone. Total destruction. That was what he was made for. His hands tightened slightly. The power inside him began to rise. Cold. Controlled. Ready. But then. Another memory. Lyra's voice. You are not a weapon to me. Silence. Ethan stood still. Inside him. Two paths. One was simple. Destroy everything. End the war instantly. Become what he was made to be. The other. Was unknown. For the first time. Ethan hesitated. Above him, enemy ships prepared another attack. Fire again. Do not stop. Energy built once more. Stronger this time. Zathra's forces pulled back. They could not stop this. Lyra stood at the edge of the battlefield. Watching. Her heart heavy. She saw Ethan. Standing alone. In the center of everything. Ethan, she whispered. The sky lit up again. The final attack. Ethan closed his eyes. Then opened them. Calm. But different. Not cold. Not empty. Human. He raised his hand. But not to destroy. To stop. When the blast came. He moved. Not away. Forward. He jumped. High. Fast. Straight into the attack. The energy crashed into him. Light exploded. Sound vanished. For a moment. Nothing existed. Then. The blast changed. It bent. Shifted. Lost control. Ethan pushed forward. Through the energy. Against it. Not destroying it. Redirecting it. The blast moved upward. Away from the planet. Into empty space. And then. It faded. Gone. Silence filled the battlefield. No explosion. No destruction. Just, quiet. Ethan landed slowly. Back on the ground. Breathing steady. Body intact. The enemy ship stopped firing. They did not understand. He stopped it. Zathra's forces stared in shock. Lyra's eyes filled with something new. Not fear. Not doubt. Hope. Ethan looked up at the sky. Then spoke. His voice carried through every channel. Every ship. Every system. This war ends now. Silence. The enemy leaders watched him. Uncertain. You cannot win this, one of them said. Ethan answered simply. I am not here to win. Pause. I am here to stop it. The words felt different. Not like a weapon. Like a choice. The enemy ship slowly pulled back. Not defeated. But unsure. Afraid. Because they had seen something new. Not just power. Control. The battlefield became still. The war stopped. Ethan stood there. No longer moving. Lyra walked toward him. Slowly. When she reached him, she looked into his eyes. You did not destroy them. Ethan shook his head. No. You could have. Yes. Lyra smiled softly. But you didn't. Ethan looked at the sky again. I made a different choice. Lyra nodded. You chose your own path. Ethan was silent for a moment. Then said quietly. Yes. For the first time. He was not following a command. Not obeying a design. He had chosen. The weapon. Had chosen its own fate. And in that moment. He was no longer just a weapon. He was something more. Something the galaxy had never expected. Human.